Okay, so now we've got a pretty good handle on the different drawings that you're going to need. So the sheets you can see that I did earlier are still stored down here with my different setups for the electrical and drainage plans, as well as the original floor plan and reflective ceiling plan. But I don't have a sheet with the section just yet, so I'll make one of those, and then I want to show you how to set up a new section and then also start setting up your elevations. So it doesn't really matter which of these I begin with. Maybe I'll start with the normal floor plan. I'm just going to right click on that tab and go to Move or Copy, tick Create a Copy, and choose Move to End, so that it goes at the end of the list there. Clicking OK. I've now got a new plan, but because I've got so many here, I've got to click on those double arrows to see it. So if you have layouts that you don't need, layouts 1 and 2 there, were just the default layouts that I began with, so I'm going to right click on those and delete both of them. Don't be afraid to delete layouts, it doesn't affect your drawing at all from the Model tab. And so now I can see that layout tab. So I'm going to rename that and call it A3 1 to 100 section 1. And so now I want to adjust this viewport, so we'll click on the paper button to make it active, and then sort of show you a little extra command, because you can pan holding the wheel down, but notice how it's not going in a straight line because it's hard to keep the mouse straight, basically. I'll undo that. So if you type dash pan and then enter, it allows you to click a point, and if you have ortho on, click another point in a straight line. So if you want to pan in an exactly straight line in a certain direction, that's how you do it. So it's just dash pan instead of pan without the dash. And so that way my section would line up with the floor plan when I print these out, which is a nice thing to have. Then clicking on the model button down the bottom, I might bring that down later more, but for now I just want to expand that viewport to the right so that I can see more, and I'll label those levels at some point. And so then I can do the setup for the next section, even though I haven't started drawing it yet. So I'm going to go back to the Model tab. And so again, notice I can't see all the tabs here, and that'll happen. So I just need to click on the double arrows when that happens, and you'll find all of them there. So I want to draw a sections and going the other way, so I've drawn a line there, just a line on my section layer that projects through all of those views, through the floor plan and the section and the reflected ceiling plan. And now I want to project to the right. So I suppose I could draw that way and have this section sideways over here, but it's much easier to rotate the view. Some people actually copy the floor plan across and rotate that just using the rotate command. But these days the normal way of doing it is to just, again, rotate the view. So using the view cube here, you will see the arrows won't come up initially, but once you hover near it, you'll see those little curved arrows. And if you click on one of those, it'll rotate in 90-degree increments, which is extremely useful when you're projecting in orthogonal planes, in other words for plans, for sections and elevations. And so if you think about the work you've done previously with the other section, you can reuse a lot of that. But we can't project from that because I want to project from this floor plan up. And maybe just so that's clear, I will draw a couple of lines just on my, say, the wall layer. So just like you did to set up the drawing earlier, you can draw a line from this intersection straight up, and then with another line project from where it intersects with the walls. And here you'd need to use a bit of judgment to work out where the wall above this is. You can see it there. It's well, again, if you ever look in your photos, you might work out that it's actually concrete above these, and it does get narrower, but for now I'm just going to project from the inside face of the wall and draw the thick part of it coming straight up. So that's my wall thickness on one side of the building. On the other side of the building, this time I can just project from the intersections of the wall and my section line. It's looking at right angles to the other one. Yeah. At the stairs. Yeah. And so a good trick there is to copy that line rather than just drawing it with the line command over and over again. You can select it, click copy, zoom in and pick it up at the base, and then just snap onto each intersection where it cuts through a wall. So we will see the face of the building here set back just the way we did on the other section, but I might leave that for now because I'll be able to copy a lot of that from the section I've already done. So again, to project across from it, I'm going to select that section and then copy, bring it up, and hit finish, and then select the new one and rotate 90 degrees. And now I might move that across so it's out of the way of that new section I'm going to do. So that gives me the heights. So I'll change to my structural concrete layer and draw a line across, or even before I do that I can copy the levels. So I've got here this line which that's meant to be on my levels layer. It must have gone onto the concrete layer, so I'll fix that level. While I'm at it, may as well fix it on here. That will do. So, okay, so anything that's the same, like the levels, they should be identical. I can just copy that straight across. And I might change the length of those, but that's roughly right. And then the floor line, with the line tool, I can just project across from the floor that I have here. To my wall. And then fill those together. Or you realise after a while you can actually copy quite a lot of it. So this line here, and well, that's about it there, so I'll just copy that one. So from there across there, again joining those together, and so looking at the section here, you can see that it also, well, actually, so it doesn't cut through the any openings, so that's a solid wall. So all we can do there is just take these two lines from the wall, but again, that's easy just to copy across Oh no, sorry, so I've already drawn those, so that's not going to save much. But again, quite often you can just copy things across. And so here, we'll just fill up those, and so then the columns, looking at these in plan, they'll look a little different, but you can again just locate them, often with a line. So think about what you'd see in the section view. You wouldn't see this column because it's behind the wall here. So it's really just that column that you'll most likely see. And yeah, so that's, yep. So then you can just copy one of these across. And then the lines from the beams and the joists would be very similar as well. So a lot of those can just be copied across. Remember, you're not going to see the joists cut, so you just need the top and the bottom to show. The floor as well, so that can be copied across. And you can do all of those levels together. Well, you'd see them cut, strictly speaking, but you could maybe leave them out because they'll look a bit strange if they're shown cut anyway, so you might leave those out just to make it clear. So I'm just selecting the lines for the top and the bottom of the floors and the beams. And I'll just copy those from the inside edge of the wall over to the inside edge of this wall. So you can see how quickly you can build it up. Again, this column, strictly speaking, would look a little different in this section. So rather than making a new block, I'm just going to explode this one and change the lines a little so you wouldn't see these brackets on the side. They only go one way, but you can take some of those lines across. So if you think about what it would look like at the end, it doesn't need to be an exact drawing. And oh yeah, so I should show you. So Yoko's been nice enough to give us some more photos that she took from the inside. So well, or from outside, but got a lot of really good views of the inside actually as well. Where are we? So here in the photos folder, oh yes, I've added a few extra ones here as well, just of the outside, which might give you some other things. But then Yoko's were much better in here, Yoko too, and so there, I saw she had some really good details. So here we go, because you can see that we're looking at the fire exits before, and that's what they've done. They have put an exit to the street, which, even though it's not always required, is sometimes an easier way to do things anyway. So you can see the beam there connecting. That's a really good little shot, that one. But then there was an even better one I saw. Well, that gives you a pretty good view. There was, I think, a better one than that, but that does give you a pretty good view of the supports there. So you don't need to show the rivets, just show the plate. That would be more than enough. And so with a line coming across, and then you could just copy a couple of these lines across. I'm not even going to centre that exactly. I think just by eye. You could centre it exactly if you have the time, and fill it and trim. and then just another rectangle outside that. So actually if I move that across, that's pretty well centered anyway. And maybe let's offset 100 mil or so. Oh, that's too much. 50 then. Yep. So something like that, and then get rid of it, the extra lines that you wouldn't see from this side, and that's that column done pretty much in section. And then you could copy that up to the remaining levels. And so I'll just trim a few more of these lines. Yeah, that would probably go to there. So you can see how by projecting from the plan and then across from the section, before long you'll have another section. And the same with things like stairs. So maybe just to get you started with that, because that can be a little bit more fiddly. But again, once you see how it's done, it's really not that difficult. So always with stairs, think about the rises and the treads. So when you draw them, if you're thinking about those things, starting here with the front of that tread there and projecting up to the floor plan, it's going to be behind the column, but we'll see most of it on the left of that. So I'll just copy that line across a couple of times. Now I'm not doing all of them, but I'm going to show you a really good trick you can use to avoid having to do all of them. But I'm going to do a line now for the landing, for the start of the landing there. And then another one for the other side of the landing. So now I'm going to project across from the lines I've drawn in the section. So perpendicular to that edge there, and if I fillet those together, that gives me a step. And I'll maybe just turn the columns layer off for now so it's out of the way. And yep, that's alright, and the concrete layer as well. So then you could keep projecting across to get additional lines for the stairs. And then filleting those together. But what you realise before long is you're basically just making the same thing over and over again. So I'll trim that back. And you can see there we've basically got this L shape. So that's a riser height and a tread width. So I'm going to delete the others. And just with that L, exactly. Yep. And that's how you do stair design when you're doing it in 2D. That's right, exactly. So once I hit the landing, I know I've got that first flight done. And so now I can copy a whole group of them. So the landing would be another riser height. So I'll copy one more. Yep. So that's the first, that's where the landing begins. So that line would then extend across to there. That's right. And I can copy a whole group of these. So I just need to know where the stair finishes. Well, in fact I don't, because it will hit the floor. So I'll just select a group of them. I don't think it's quite as many as in the first flight. And then pick it up at the base. And then snap it over to here. Oh no, it is basically the same, so that's all right. I can just extend that with a few more. Oops, so get a tread as well. Okay, so I've got some extra lines there, I can just delete those. So that's how the stair would look from the side. Well, that's the basis of it. And then you just need to think about the construction. So, well, you think about what you'd see. So, okay, so here, we're cutting through here. So we're not cutting through the opening in the floor around the stairs. So we'll just see the floor. So we'd actually only see the stair up to the bottom of this beam. So we'd trim it there. So these lines that are above it would be trimmed. And then also we've got this wall here we're cutting through. So we're not going to see anything beyond that either. That's from the lift. So that's the lift shaft. So that's an important thing to indicate. And we'll actually have the floor and the beams stopping there as well, because we won't see them beyond that wall. So that can all be trimmed back to this line, which saves a lot of drawing work. You could have the level lines going through because they're just a graphical marker. And there you would have something above. So I'll leave that. But that makes it a lot clearer already when you tidy it up. It is, yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so then so I've just opened up the other drawing, the older drawings, or the older photos of the interior, so you can see the stairs. And so once you've got those treads and risers worked out, then you can draw in a stringer. So there you could just guesstimate the depth from the back of the tread to the bottom of the stringer. So by firstly offsetting these, so you can say, well, that timber is probably about 25-30 mil. Yep. In each direction. And again, just going to fillet those together, and you don't need to draw the same thing over and over. So I'll just do the next one as well. Okay, so that can all be copied up the same way. And I'll show you a few little tricks there. So I'm just going to copy. Great thing about AutoCAD is that copy multiples turned on by default. And once you've done a few, you can just select a group of them, and in no time you can copy it all up. Oops, so just got to get the right base point. I didn't, well, I'm going to have overlapping lines. Doesn't really matter, but there we go. So it doesn't take long. You could also turn that into a polyline, and you're not going to see that anyway. This is just to help you with the set out, because that's all going to be covered by the stringer. So you might show the stair dashed afterwards, the line of the stair, but that's about it. So all of this is really just to help us work out the stringer. So from here, I'm going to draw a line from the bottom. So that gives us the angle of the stair, or the pitch of the stair. And so then, the stringer is that piece of timber that the stair's fixed to, and again, guesstimating visually, that would say be 50 mil, you might say. So we can offset that much. And then we can probably just assume it's the same on the top. So drawing a line again, just from the nosing of the stair, it would project in reality, but I wouldn't worry about that. And in fact, they're open, so I didn't even need to draw the risers in. Again, it doesn't matter because we're going to have that all hidden anyway. So I'm going to offset 50 mil the other way, and just to keep it simple, offset 50 from the front, and join all those lines together. Extend that to the floor, and then well, if you haven't done polylines for a while, here it will definitely help to make a polyline of that top, so I can just turn it into a dashed line afterwards. So under modify, you have edit polyline. So then you can select the line, and then if it's not a polyline, it'll tell you the object selected is not a polyline. Do you want to turn it into one? So yes, we do. And if you press enter, it accepts that Y option in brackets, which is obviously yes. And now I want to join the other lines to it, so I'm going to choose join. And I'm going to zoom out and select with a window. Notice I'm selecting all of the lines, but that's okay because it'll only connect lines that are touching. So it's going to ignore the lines that are offset and also ignore the stringer. So I'm going to press enter, and it's going to tell me I selected 63, but only 37 have been added. So that can help a lot when you're trying to join lines together. So notice how there, it's just the top edge that's connected. So I can get rid of those other lines that I really just put in for set out. And now, if I was to make that into a dashed line, which I'll just do quickly by going to properties here and choosing, say, hidden, well, even those are too small, also too big. So I want that to be dashed, but sometimes the dashes aren't the right size. So another option, instead of trying to find another line type, is in properties. When you select something, right click, go to properties, you can change the line type scale.
So if you set your annotated text to the wrong scale, and you go to properties and update it?
You can change the scale here, and that would definitely change the line type scale, but I want this to be 1 to 100. So you've got this extra option to set a line type scale for just that object. So, I'm sorry, going the wrong. So 0.5 would be half the size. That's still not small enough, so let's try 0.2. And now you can see that's okay. Maybe 0.3. And there we are. No, any object. Every object in AutoCAD has that option for line type scale. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it really helps a lot. And so now then I can just continue putting in the rest of the stringer. So notice the landing isn't as deep as the stringer. That stringer should be a fairly wide piece of timber. So if I measure that now, 300. Yeah, not far off. And I think I'm a little bit small, but I'll live with it. And so then the landing is less than that, but you also have a post coming up. So the post would be actually centered on that last riser there. So you could just draw a line from that, and it goes up to the floor above, basically. Or maybe to the bottom of the beam. And then we'll just say they're basically 100 by 50s. And so, or 100 by 100, I mean. So we'll offset 50 mil either side. And then copy those two lines across the other side of the landing. And then again offset 150. Come down and trim it all back. So I'll let you work out the rest of it, but I'm sure you can see once you just think about the way things go together, not only by looking at the photos, you'll be able to work all that out. So the railing as well, you'll just get the angle from the stair. Think about the standard height of a railing, that's a bit low, but I'd say it's more like 900 or 950 than a metre. But again, it doesn't need to be close to reality anyway. And so then there's not much else to draw though in that area that you'll see on that level. you'd have the roller doors would be cut through here. So I'll let you try to draw roller doors. Just if you're not sure how to show them in section, just Google drawings of roller doors. They're an easy thing to look up. And it's quite easy thing to draw. They really just are a circle with a helix inside, like a spiral shape. Not a helix, a spiral, basically. It's got a tool. So here you've got the option for, where have they moved it to? It's one of these. Yeah, maybe. Oh no, here it is, sorry, you've got it there. So helix. I thought there was spiral as well as a separate command. They did have it as a command at one point. I'm just going to type it in. But you could definitely do it with a helix. It's just, oh yes, it brings up helix anyway. So a helix is like a 3D spiral, and but you can use it to do a flat one as well. Now, of course, it's frozen. It'll hopefully come back. Fingers crossed. Don't want it to freeze there, because I still want to show you elevations. So maybe while that's thinking, I'll give it some time to recover, and we can have a look at the elevations in the set you've been given, and they're a pretty good reference. The elevation, yeah. So you need two elevations. So I'd say the two sides that are visible from the street would be the most sensible. So the Kensington Street and the other street that I've forgotten. Yep, right, yep, Dwyer, yep. So it's called them both Kensington. Oh no, it does say Dwyer. You're right, yep. Okay, so you've got the drawings there, and you could even cheat a little bit. I shouldn't be telling you this, but you can cheat, because you've been given the drawings, and this is a real life situation in most practices. When you're given resources to start the project, you will sometimes be given a PDF or something that you can either insert, or you can, if you're given printed drawings, scan in and then insert into AutoCAD. Now, it looks like AutoCAD has crashed.
I actually tried to insert a line drawing into AutoCAD, but it freaked out.
Yeah, that could happen.
It was like it was freaking out about the lines already. And
Yeah. Yeah, so that does happen. And so it's not that unusual with AutoCAD. Fortunately though, it does save automatically. So I'm going to try closing it. Not working. So Control-Alt-Delete, go to Task Manager, and then first try just selecting AutoCAD. You can see it's not even in the list there of open programs. Oh yes, sorry, it is, I'm blind. So it is there. Normally it'd have the icon, but there it is. Okay, so you can choose End Task down the bottom, and now that should close it, but if the program's got an error, it still might not work. It has in this instance, but if it doesn't work, then just go to Processes and find AutoCAD in the list there and choose End Process. So this will happen to you, so it's good to see that. And then, so we'll bring that up in a second. Okay, so now back into AutoCAD, and we'll see if it is going to show me an automatic save. So one of the best things about AutoCAD is that it saves automatically, and you can see here that it has done that. So there it's got my drawing, and I can click on that, click on the plus, and see the first one there with SV $, which is the most recent automatic save. Sometimes that won't come up, and if that is the case, you can always search for it yourself. If you go into the C drive, it'll be normally set to save into the temp folder, and just go for the most recently modified files, and so you can see there it is, and it's from not that long ago. So double clicking on it here though is the easiest way to open it. So I've lost a little bit, but it wouldn't take me long to do that again. So, so then to get started with the elevations, you basically follow a similar process. I wanted to show you how to get the sheets as well. So it's good to, as you do this, build up your sheets. So maybe I'll just quickly show you that. If I go to the section that I made before, I can use the same method, right click, move or copy, tick create a copy, move to end, OK, and then find the new one. I'll rename it and call it section 2. And you can see it's just freezing up a bit, sorry. It's mainly because I'm recording. Okay, so now I'm going to go into that viewport, clicking on the model paper or double clicking, and then I want the section that is rotated, and what I really want to show you is that sometimes you'll lose the view cube. So there, you can see it's actually on. We'll try toggling it on and off and notice it's still not coming back. It's just a bit of a bug that I've noticed in the program, and so the easiest way I find to return it is to delete the viewport and recreate it. So I'm going to go back to just make a new rectangular viewport, open it up and notice it's back. Just one of those little things, and I'm sure there's a setting for it, but again, sometimes it's easier just to remake it.
Can you type region in a viewport?
Oh yes, absolutely, yeah.
But that won't probably
No. So they're a graphical menu sort of option. So here we just need that arrow. There are other ways of rotating the view using the UCS command and things like that, but it's nice to have these arrows. So there is my new section, and now I can set the scale and back in business. It's into my viewport layer.
Then if you scale and set the inches at the bottom there, is there a quick command on how to upload it into an Access format?
Not easily. Really what you have to do is go into custom and add in your own scales.
Yeah, because I've noticed a lot of the computers seem to be set to that.
Well, it's not, it's the file. So, yeah, see, if you go and make a new file,
You've got to make sure it's
AutoCAD ISO. If you use AutoCAD, that's set for metric and imperial. Then some of these others are just set for imperial. Now, the ones set for metric and imperial might sound okay, but they're honestly set more for imperial. It's an American program. They obviously don't work with metric.
simply open your metric ISO and just copy all the
That's the best way. Copy and paste it into the right template. It's so much better using AutoCAD ISO for metric. Yeah. And so, so then as you update your section, you'll obviously see it in your viewport here on your layout. And so then you can use the same method to set up your elevations. So I might just quickly show you how to get started with that and show you a couple of little tricks that will make your life easier as well. Because you have that file to use as a reference, so why not make use of it? So here it's drawing number 1, or sorry, page number 1 has the first elevation, and then page number 3 has the second elevation. So they're PDFs. Right? And so AutoCAD is one of the few programs that will let you insert a PDF, which is a great option. So here on the Insert tab, you can click Attach, find your file, and down here, if it's not set to PDF, it won't show you them, so you've got to make sure you choose PDF files there. And there it is, Chippendale Building Mixed Use Development. Open, and then it should prompt you for the page you want. So I'm going to choose number 1. And I'm going to tick rotation. I'm going to turn scale off. I want to scale it afterwards. So I'm just going to have insertion point specify on screen and rotation specify on screen. And then I'll click OK. And I'm just going to click to place it roughly. And then to see the rotation, I've got to zoom in. It does. So well, I'll show you the little. Yeah.
5 times until I realise.
Yeah, I'll do that again now that we know that it's not. See, sometimes it will be set to the right size based on the scale, or closer than what it is. But no, I'll do something with the scale. I'm going to still turn it off and turn rotation on, but I'm going to put a number in there.
So you're going to specify it.
Yeah. So looking at the document, there's a scale factor there. So it's 1 to 100. So 100 is a good scale factor, and if they've set that properly, it might even be the right size automatically. So I'm going to click OK again, and this time, no, they haven't set that properly, but that's all right. So I'm just going to click to place it, and then with ortho on, I can set it to an exact angle. Now this one I want to the right, so it's oriented the same way as these drawings I did earlier, because that one should be, oh no, so this is Kensington Street, isn't it? So that's this, well, oh no, Kensington Street's, God, I always get them mixed up. Is Kensington Street's the long one, isn't it? Oh, it's the short one. And then Dwyer Street is the long. Yeah. Oh, so this is, and so this is Dwyer that I'm inserting. Sorry, that's right. Yeah. So I've got them back to front. So yeah. So Dwyer is the one on this side. So I want it oriented actually this way, 0 degrees. Yeah, so 0 should be up. We could always flip it afterwards anyway, but just to get a starting point. And yeah, that's the right way. Alright, so it comes in pretty well. It's a scanned image that they've put into a PDF, but it's still better than, a lot better than nothing. And so if you can find some numbers, so here you do have some numbers that are just legible. 4.5, I think that is. So 0 and 4.5. So between those two lines should be 4.5 metres, yeah. So I'm going to measure that. I'm going to turn object snap off so that it won't snap to anything. I'm just going to have it to visually click on the centre of one line and go to the centre of another line, and you can see it's 126 mil roughly. So if you remember that method of scaling I showed you before, select it, back on home, click on scale, base point here I'm just going to click roughly near the sheet, and then remember the scale factor is the size you want it to be, 4500 over the size it is, 126. Enter. And so now to make sure that it's right, I can measure again. 4.5, close enough. So now, that's right, you can pretty much trace. You still want to get things accurate where possible. So you've done all the work setting up the levels accurately, so why not use those? And so by copying this up, so this would be probably laid out above the other section so you can project from the floor plan. So up here.
So can you lock that?
Oh yes, of course, and I would, yeah, definitely. So you can make a layer for it. That's a good way, yep. So PDF. Yep, that's right, exactly. So I can just select that border, back on home, put it onto my new layer, and then I'll lock that layer in a minute once I've got it in the right place. So here, I'm not going to draw very much because, as you were saying, you can probably just trace a lot of it, but again, where possible, use the measurements that you've already worked out. So we've set out the side of the wall there, and I'm going to then move this across. So again, it will snap to something if I'm not careful, so I'll turn Object Snap off to pick it up, and then I'll turn Object Snap back on to snap perpendicular to that line. And now you can see things might not line up exactly. It should be pretty close, but let's see. So here, from this corner, not far off. And so then the levels, remember we've done them just now on the section, so you can copy those up. So again, snapping to a point to pick them up, and if you need to turn Object Snap off to pick over the image, that's sometimes very helpful. And again, pretty good. So they're a little bit out, but not enough to really worry about. And what you'll find once you draw the windows on one level, then you can duplicate them up to the other levels. And so you've probably noticed already that I haven't finished off any of the sections. Even the first one that's largely complete still has a bit to go. Yeah, it does, yeah. But that's normal. You don't want to finish off any one drawing before you've set out the others, because they'll all inform each other. So once you do more and draw the elevations in, that will give you some information that you can transfer back to the sections. So things like the window sizes here and the framing, you can then use that to help you to draw the windows in section. In the first one. So we did the openings, but then you need to put the window frames inside those. And then you need to do one, and then you copy it up. But again, once you've done the window elevations, and the window elevations are easy because they're just a series of rectangles. And so a good way to set that out is based on the levels. So now I've got my my PDF where I want it to be. So I'm going to say, right, that's now ready to be locked. So I'll lock that layer. And so then, as a starting point, I can maybe get a line on the wall layer, because the edge of the window is really part of the wall, and just tracing across. Oh, there is.
But it won't pick up the lines.
Not these, no, and especially because they've been scanned in, it won't even snap to them. No, look, it's actually a bit of a secret in Revit that it can trace over pixel-based images. It does. It's had programming in there for quite a while that will detect lines in that are made of pixels.
So could you put this into Revit and then move it over into CAD?
Yeah, you can, but what you'll see now when I show you this is that it won't help you a lot, because again, these are pixels and they're not very accurate. Yeah, that's right. That's right. So that's right. You can, and then you can make it more accurate. So I've just drawn a line for my sill. That's right. That's right. Yes, that's right. Exactly. That's right. Exactly. And so here you can see that I've drawn that line over the pixels, and it's ended up being 1224. Which is not a nice measurement to work with. It's easier just for you when you're drawing if the measurements are round numbers. So I would redo that. Instead of making it that, I'd say, right, it's close enough to 1200, so I'm going to offset from the level 1200, there's my level line, and make that line go onto the wall layer.
So that's why Revit makes it like odd numbers.
Exactly. And Revit's even worse when things aren't even numbers. It's just tedious. So, so looking at the plan, you could even project lines from the window here. Now, I guarantee you the people who did this drawing would have cheated, and I'd expect you to as well, because that wall is at an angle.
Yeah.
But they haven't drawn the windows as though they're at an angle. They've just drawn them flat, and that's all I expect you to do. Yeah, if you do it, if you're too technically correct, this is another issue with Revit. The drawings aren't as easy to read. It's all about communicating things. They don't need to be an exact representation of what you'd see if you were cutting through and viewing at 90 degrees. That's right. So you've got to make a judgment call at some point, and here you might say, well, I might project some lines from here to help me, but I'm not going to be too fussy about the exact location. Yeah. And so that's, well, it's actually not far off, but we've got the outer part. Yeah, so again, just try and work out some round numbers. So measuring across there, you can say, well, 100 and something, 140. So again, offsetting round numbers. And again, so DI is the shortcut for distance. You find yourself using that a lot. So 1400, so again, offset 1400 from that line. And then, was it one, I've forgotten what I did, 140, yep. And now again, also just offset 140 from the cell, yep. And here it can help to have line weights showing, not that it's a very heavy line weight anyway, so it's not, still not going to be all that clear. Yeah, so you can try turning the layer on and off as well, so just toggling that layer can help. And then, so the last major line is the window height. So again there you can see, well, yeah, you could even make that 2500, I think. And of course they're all identical, so once you've done one, that's right. Think about making it a block, so that if you do need to change them, you can just change one and they'll all change. So then the rest you would definitely need to make a window layer. So all of these lines would go onto that. And then it's a good chance for you to work out window construction. So looking at the photos as well should help you to see the window frame. Yeah, definitely timber frame, yep. So there you can see it's got a sash with the glazing bars inside. And again, just eyeballing it, you can work out the thickness. So maybe you'd say that's 40 or 50 mil.
So is the sash big across the horizontal? Like what is the sash?
The sash is the part that moves.
The part that moves.
Yeah. So So this here, that frame's recessed, but well, only partly. So maybe we'll say it comes out 20 mil or so. And again here it's a bit hard to see, so turning the PDF off, can offset 20 mil all the way around. Just going to have a look at that again. So actually I think the drawings are wrong. So let's just bring that back and I'll show you what I mean. So they've made the frame there much thicker than it is in reality. Yeah, so it's better to draw it the way it really is, I think, just for the exercise. And so there, so I have to redo those. So it's going to be a good guide having that image there, but better again to work it out from the real thing. And I've got to say that drawing practice in general went through a bit of a dark age from the later part of the 20th century. If you go right back, 19th century drawing practices and into a lot of the early 20th century as well. If you look at those drawings, they're beautiful and accurate, and then people got slack and relied on the builders to work it out for them on site and just drew things in a fairly rough way and got away with it, I suppose, because they could. But things have come full circle and people now are expected to draw things much more accurately. So again, here I'm just going to say 40 mil for the sash coming in. And once you've seen how to draw one of these, then you can easily work out anything, any sash window. They're all basically the same. So coming across the midpoint there, I'm going to assume that the sill of the bottom piece of the sash is also 40 mil, so there'll be 20 mil either side, above and below. Get rid of the centre line. Put the arc in afterwards, but to begin with I'm just going to use trim to take out these lines so I can see clearly that I've got the upper sash, and may as well just trim these lines while I'm at it. So with an arc, just using start, centre, end. Okay, so if you think about it, the start, well actually here, so I'll do it on the other side just because you'll see why. So I'm going to start here because I want to draw anti-clockwise. So my start can be here, the centre over here, and then coming around this way, mid ortho on. Then I can bring that down just by moving it so far, just eyeballing it, and then mirror that to the other side. Just a piece of the sash. So I've forgotten what it's called, there's a name for it, that little piece there. And so again, filleting to connect things. So I've done the sash frame, and now we're just got to put the glazing bars in. So again, from memory, looking at that PDF, I think they might have even totally fudged that. Let's see. Oh no, that's not far off. They've got, so it's 4. No, sorry, they did fudge it. So it's, oh no, some of them have 4, and some do have 4. Yeah, so it's just the centres that have 3. Yeah, and let's see if they pick that up. No. I'm getting probably, a little bit picky, but again, it's good to. So again, following the same approach, you can draw in the glazing bars if you just guesstimate the thickness. So we'll say they're, well, in reality probably about 10 or 15 mil, but let's make them 20. And so to set that out, again, just think about the centre lines. Now, to do this properly, we need to extend that line across 10 mil. And on the other end as well. I'm going to take it back afterwards, but you'll see why in a second. Because now I'm going to use divide. Now if you think this is bad, imagine what it was like when you had to draw this by hand. You'd have to sit down and do the calculation. Yeah. But the thought process is still the same. You're trying to set out the centre lines first to then work out the all the bars. So here with divide, we need to select the line first and then the number of segments. So remember it's got 4 divisions. So you can see then if I copy this line across onto each point, that I've basically set out the centres of those glazing bars. I haven't done the bars themselves. And so then if I offset 10 mil either side, hopefully that makes it clearer why I extended the line out 10 mil either end to begin with. Because I want that line to be measuring from an imaginary centre that I would have if the glazing bar was on this end. And just to prove to you that that's all correct, now I'll measure from the inside corner here to the inside of this one. It's 375. The next one should be exactly the same, 375. And that might help you when you're doing your set-outs generally, because when you need to draw, say, folding doors or cupboard doors or kitchen cabinets, they need to all be even. And it's not just that you measure when you're measuring from the ends, but you'll often have things that have a frame where the frames need to be positioned evenly along another span. So you need to understand that set-out process. There are other ways of doing it. Some people will take the measuring point to just to one side. But I just like to do it like that because from a thinking point of view, I think it's easier. Maybe not the easy. There are slightly easier ways of drawing it. But I think from a thinking logically and setting out logically point of view, that's a good way. So now with a piece going across the middle, luckily when you're dividing something in two, it's much easier. Draw from the midpoint to midpoint and offset above and below. And then before copying it, I will trim. And again, it might seem like a lot of work, but all the windows are identical. So do one and you've done them all, except for the ones that have 3 and they're easy to modify. So there we go. And the position of the window openings on the elevation is not critical because you should never take horizontal measurements from an elevation anyway. So for this, I would say make it into a block. I'll definitely give you some time to work on it right after this. But just to remind you, make blocks where you can. So window elevation will do for now. Insertion point almost anywhere. And now bring back PDF. Copy away. So again, you change those in the middle, but for now, just doing it by eye. There we go. So before long, you'll get the elevations done. They're quite a fun thing to draw because you're just drawing what you see, and you've got the photos as well to show you everything on the outside really clearly. So I'll let you work out the rest, but I'll just maybe point out some of the things that people maybe forget sometimes. This shed on top, I think you can leave out, assume it's already been demolished. But the scalloped parapets, you do need to draw. That's an important feature. But those you could just draw by tracing the PDF. Yeah. Yep. Everything else I think you can just trace. So the sandstone piers, an important thing as well, and the lines for the brick piers above that. That should do it. It shouldn't take you that long. The ground line, I say ground line always should be very heavy. So again, you can just trace the ground line over the elevation. And that should do it. And so just remember, the other elevation, when you insert it, would be rotated the other way. So it might help to rotate the whole drawing around. I always get these. Yeah, there we go. That's the right way. And go. Oops. So you can project up from that section.